Hi everyone, welcome to today's session on overcoming creative blocks. We are going to look at some practical tools and tips to empower ourselves as sketchnoters and get over those creative blocks. Have you ever stared at a blank piece of paper with pen in hand and struggled to think of what to draw next? You are not alone. It's lovely and exciting to work in the creative industry, but staying inspired isn't always easy. Hello, my name is Kosha Bhatia. I'm an independent illustrator, graphic designer, graphic recorder, and art educator. I graduated with a degree in applied arts in 2011, and since then, I've been working in the creative industry. It's been over 13 years now, and mostly I work with clients across various industries for design and illustration services. But I've been graphic recording since the last 2 years and I absolutely love it. And I've professionally been doing that for the last 2 years. But unofficially, I've been graphic recording since 2014. I just didn't know it was called something. So that's my journey so far. And I'm very excited to be here with you today to talk about graphic recording, sketchnoting, and how to stay inspired. So, the first thing I feel we need to do to overcome a creative block is to understand what creative blocks really are. And the proper definition of a creative block is moments when your mind feels stuck and the ideas seem distant. So you feel stuck, you don't have any ideas, you just don't like that feeling. And that is a creative block. It literally blocks you from proceeding. Now, there are a couple of common causes for why this can happen. One is overwhelming content. So, when you are sketchnoting and there's too much information coming in, and you just don't know what to capture and what to leave out. So, that could be one. Another one is fear of mistakes. So, especially in a live sketchnoting scenario, you do not have the opportunity to correct your mistakes and you just have to go with it, and that can be intimidating. And you're always scared of what if I make a mistake? What if I mess up? So, that can happen, and that can be a creative block. Another one is lack of inspiration and burnout. So there have been too many times when I have gone through this personally. It can happen when you're doing too many similar projects, when you're doing too many similar kind of events, when the work is tedious and you just feel burnt out and exhausted by the end of it. And that can be a creative block because you just feel stuck. Another one is comparison and self doubt. So, if you're comparing yourself to other sketchnoters, other visual artists, other people doing what you're doing, and you might think that they're better than you, and then you start feeling worse about yourself, about your skills, and there's just a lot of self doubt that comes in, the imposter syndrome, as they say. That can lead to major creative blocks as well, and running out of visual vocabulary, which is something that is, I think, a nightmare for every sketchnoter. But it is what it means is you struggle to come up with ideas and concepts for what is being spoken by the speaker. So, these are some of the common creative blocks that are faced by sketchnoters, and we're going to look at some of the ways we can overcome these. Before we begin, it is so important to change our mindset about what creative blocks are. It is not a failure, it is not a dead end. Creative blocks are simply your mind telling you that you need to change up the way you're doing things, you need to try something new. It is basically your mind's invitation to experiment. So, that is how we're going to look at creative blocks today. The first tip that we are going to work on today is to change our mindset about creative blocks. It is not running out of ideas, rather, it is growth, because we're going to try new things, we're going to experiment, we're going to get out of our comfort zone and learn and grow. So, that is how we're going to look at a creative block. Next is sometimes it's good to take a break, take a step back, and refresh yourself. And that could mean to do something different from what you're doing. If If you're doing client projects, then take a step back, check out the kind of work you're doing, and see if there's something different you can do, not professionally, but just as a passion project to switch things up, just zhush up the energy. You can try taking a pottery class if that's something you've never done and if it's not your field. I love interior design and spaces. So sometimes I try to redecorate the space around me when I'm feeling that way, or I try to take a pottery class, or even just walk in nature. Like just surround yourself, by trees or the river or the mountains. Just go for a walk and come back refreshed. It's that simple. Our next one is to shake up your routine and try something new. If you're the kind of person who does digital sketchnoting like I do, I mostly work with digital. What would be a great way for me to shake up my routine would be to work with pens and papers and markers. Maybe I could even try something different like charcoals or paints for my sketchnoting, and just try different ways of doing things. Maybe even if I'm working digitally on my iPad, I could try different apps for sketchnoting. I could limit my color palette, and I have done that actually. So earlier in my early sketchnoting journey, I used to use a lot of color. And now, as I am refining the way I sketchnote, I make sure I use a limited color palette, maybe restrict it to 3 or 4 colors and use neutrals. And that really helps. Like anything different is exciting for us. Another one is to practice speed drawing. So we want to improve our ability to think and sketch quickly, especially when we are the kind of people who are doing live sketchnoting. You have to really think on your feet, and it's not just going to happen immediately. You have to practice for that. So set aside some time every week, daily if possible, and practice. So set a timer, give yourself a task that within 5 minutes I need to come up with 5 different ideas for this keyword, and then just practice. Switch up the kind of sketchnoting practice you do. Are you only listening to events and conferences and lectures and trying to practice those in your free time? How about if you try and sketchnote podcasts that you like, TED Talks that you find interesting online? It could even be a book summary. And I've done book summaries and I absolutely love them. So, whatever book you're reading right now, you could just take down key points and make a summary of the book in a sketchnote format. Even recipes, if you're someone who loves to cook, why not share your favorite recipe in the format of a sketch note? That could be fun. So just think of different ways to practice sketchnoting. You're still working on the skill, but the content is different and you're going to become a versatile sketchnoter. It could be vacation journals in sketchnote format. It could be just thoughts that you have that you want to share with people in a sketchnote format. Revisit your old work and analyze it. So, see how you used to do things a couple of months back, a couple of years back. See what you would change now as you have grown and refined your skill. And that can really be a motivator and it can change up the energy a bit. Of course, this is a must for all sketchnoters who work professionally. Build a visual vocabulary. So, when we are doing live sketchnoting, we need to really quickly draw things and draw ideas and draw concepts that the speaker is speaking about. But they're not just going to come from thin air. We have to have practiced these concepts and ideas before to be able to execute them quickly. And how that works is create a collection of icons, symbols, concepts, dedicate a certain amount of time every week to practice and build these up. And then what you can do is you can organize them according to industry. You can organize them according to maybe the technology industry, maybe the sustainability industry. So you will have icons and images for those. And then the next time you're live sketchnoting for some talk or some conference related to that industry, you know you're prepared. Another one is to focus on the big picture. So, like I had mentioned earlier, one of the creative blocks is the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being perfect in a live scenario. That's when we need to remind ourselves what sketchnoting is for. What is the purpose? The purpose in a live sketchnote scenario is not perfection. It is the for the person who's attending the conference, for the audience to be able to relate to the idea, and that is what our visuals make accessible. So, through our visuals, the ideas become more accessible to the person and better understood. That is the main aim. Perfection is fine. So, we need to learn and train ourselves to not overthink. Expand your visual vocabulary. So, we spoke about building our visual vocabulary. Expanding is to just grow that, not just stick to what you know, but switch it up, refine it, take it one step further. Um, One reason is because you're copying icons directly as they are from the internet, and other people can do that too. So it's very common. And secondly, you might just be bored using the same visual vocabulary over and over again. So just to kind of update yourself, upgrade yourself, and upskill yourself, it is great to practice expanding. Now, what I mean by that is, firstly, you have some amazing resources online, like the Noun Project or even Google's Quick Draw. So, check those out. But when you do see an icon or a symbol that you like, why not change things up a bit? Tweak it a little bit to make it your very own. Another amazing way to do things is to merge two or three different icons together to create your own visual metaphor. Remember that every individual has the unique style. So do not compare yourself to other people. Everyone comes from different backgrounds, different experiences, different way of processing information and emotions. And so the way you look at the world is so unique, your perspective is so unique, and that is what is valuable. So don't try to be somebody else because you're perfect just the way you are. And collaborate and learn. So the main thing is to connect with people who do what you want to do, who also love doing what you love doing. Talk to them, exchange ideas, get support, learn and grow together. So join certain communities that you have around you that are also full of people who love sketchnoting, and you will learn and grow so much. So now for the practical bit, let us do a little bit of an experiment where we do a visual sprint together. We will take 2 minutes to sketchnote a phrase called overcoming challenges. And we're going to use icons, text, abstract shapes, and this is something we can do together. So if you want to join along, please do so. So I'll leave you with this. Remember, creative blocks are opportunities for growth. So embrace them. Build your visual vocabulary, simplify your process, practice often, take breaks, and stay connected to the community. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Kosha Bhatia, and you can find me on all social media with the handle @Kosha Bhatia. And I also have a separate Instagram account for my graphic recording, which is Kosha_graphic recorder. It was lovely being here with you, and I hope to see you soon. See you.